Hi everyone, John Wilson, XS Sights, here to demonstrate our Glock Eco install tool. First off, you want to make sure that your gun unloaded, no magazine in, and always do a chamber check. All guns can be a little different, so make sure you refer to your own user's manual for how to disassemble. You want to make sure you remove the barrel and recoil spring as well. You can set these parts off to the side. I have here the factory sights that came off of this gun. If you buy a Glock, you'll be very familiar with these. They're the plastic ones with the steel insert in the bottom. And then the front is plastic with the steel self-tapping screw. Most people, when they buy a set of sights, their first set, they have somebody else install. So here I have a no-name brand straight out of China. They were quite the novelty to buy. I purchased them with a prepaid Visa just to protect my bank account. I put them on this gun, I went and shot them, and they are just as bad as their website I bought them off of. They're terrible. The issue is you've already paid somebody to install these sights and you don't like these sights. So it's not the person you paid's fault that you don't like them. They're just not good. So we came up with a cheap alternative to paying somebody. We'll be installing a set of R3D orange front from XS Sights. So this is what your Eco Series sight pusher will look like when it shows up. Everything will be self-contained in the box. We have a sheet of paper with warranty information on it and a bunch of other nonsense. I can't read, so I don't ever look at these, but this will be your directions, rear sight installation directions that you can read on your own time. We'll be going over a verbal demonstration of it. We have the tool body itself, and there's another link to directions, the QR code. We've got the most important part, the oil, Allen key, pusher rod. This is the front sight tool you'll need for taking the front sight off. Then we've got the meat and the potatoes of the sight, the press part. So you'll notice this one comes disassembled. We'll need a little pre-assembly before we start. The hex key will need to line up with this hole in the back and this slot. The easiest way of doing this is to get your finger in the slot on the bottom side, catch it, get it in place, and then you can stick the bolt in, kind of pinch, and do light twist. And if you don't have it right, that happens. For those of you with bigger hands, a magnet works too. The pusher body is aluminum, and the nut is steel. So here we have it started, and everything sits in there nice and loose. Now what we want to do, take our gun oil up our threads. The more the merrier. Now step number one, once you get this assembled, and this is the most annoying part, but you want to screw the nut down until it gets hand tight. So here I am hand tight, and what I'm going to do is put a little bit of tension on this to actually drive the nut into the aluminum body, and this will lock it in place. And this helps to ensure that you push straight with your tool. So I'm going to give it just about a half turn, and you should have heard some cracking. That's you actually breaking the aluminum. So now you can back it off, and when you take it loose, everything will still be tight. This is the Most important step for getting consistent sight pushing. As you see now, it's nice and tight, doesn't wiggle. So, always important to keep on hand a little cleaning cloth so you can actually grab things once they get oily. So to install the pusher bit, you want to just slide it in the hole. Sometimes it gets a little crunchy, but push it a little harder. Now you want to back this out until you are clear of the channel at the top. Now you're ready to uninstall. Now I mentioned earlier that you may have some aftermarket sights in here. These actually require an Allen key to remove. I'm going to loosen the retaining set screw. Now I can use this pusher as an uninstall tool. Now there's 3 sizes of these. You want to make sure, depending on which Glock you have, that you get the right size. The slim frame, the standard frame, and the large frame. But there are 3 sizes. I actually noticed an issue with this. Sights are a little bit big for a pusher, but we'll see if we can make it work. Now I've got good contact with the sight body. One thing you can do with this sight pusher, twist and manipulate it to try and get a better hold. And I'd normally put my hand over the top, grab it better. So one thing to note, if the aftermarket sights you're trying to remove are wider than our pusher channel, you'll only be able to get them so far, but we got them past the hard part. So what we can do then is take our push rod. You have a vise that'll make it easier, but I'll attempt to do it here with just my hands. Just a few whacks. So we got it out of the middle, means we have less pressure on the sight. And all I'm doing is just holding with one hand, using my knuckles on a soft pad, and just giving it a little tap. Not hitting it too hard. Sometimes less is more. Depending on the sights, they'll be tighter than they should be. But we actually provide you the punch to knock the sights out with. Now we can do the front sight. And it's just a simple 3/16 hex. You take it and you want to press into the sight and unscrew. Lefty-loosey. But you want to make sure that you're pressing into the sight to avoid stripping either the screw or the tool. One thing you can do too, if you can't get the screw off and you're not worried about saving your sights, is you can take our provided punch, lay the gun on its side, and give it a good smack. It'll actually break the tab off, and then you can knock the rest of the tab out through the bottom. If you can't get your, not your factory, but if you have an aftermarket, and sometimes they get stuck or rusted. So now we'll go over the install. Start with the rear. Depending on what generation sight you have, they may or may not have a lead-in. You should always check your sight for that. These do not, so I'll be able to install them from any direction. You want to fully unscrew. Reinstall your push rod. Position over your gun. One way to check and make sure you are in the right position, make sure your push rod goes clearly through the sight channel. If you're too far left or right, you'll hit the top of your slide. That's how you know you're not in the correct position. You have a little bit of wiggle room, But luckily with the install, you don't have to be perfect because you're not pushing all the way through. You're going to take your sight, you should be able to rest it down in the channel. And then with a little bit of manipulation, it'll be hard to show on camera. With a little bit of manipulation, I'm actually letting the gun fall down a little bit to get it lined up right. So now I'm in the channel, get it pushed in as far as I can with my finger. It's nice and tight. And get relined up. Depending on if you use Loctite or not, you want to clean all your Loctite out of your dovetail. And also, depending on the surface finish you have on your gun and the sight, you want to use oil in this part or not oil. That all depends on the specifics that you purchased. With this gun, we have a special finish on it. We don't need to oil. Before you install your sight, make sure that you refer to the sight pusher specifics for whether you need to oil this channel or not. You always need to oil the threads, and you want to make sure your threads are oiled before you start pushing. I'm going to get relined up. I'm holding with just one thumb here, just to show you guys. It's not that difficult. Normally I would put my entire hand over the backside. But cameras. And you just want to go slow and steady, give it some nice turns. Every now and then pause, double check you're not going to hit. If you zoom in right here, you can see that if we keep pushing in this current location, we may touch, so we want to get a little bit farther in and then we'll readjust. We give it a few more turns. Now we're at the point where we may hit our gun, so we're going to back off a little bit. Take, and we're going to slightly adjust our position. Now we can keep pushing. Don't be afraid to check, double check, and triple check. The old adage goes, measure once, cut twice. Or cut twice, measure once. No, that's not right. Now we've got the rear installed. This is where the magic happens, making sure your sight is in the middle. There are no location features on this Eco series. It's supposed to be the economical. If you want true measurements, you can go to our DIY or Gunsmith series. But here, you'll just have to use your eyeball. The best thing I do is look at the edges of the sights with the round part of the top of the slide. Depending on which gun and which sight you have, it may vary a little bit, but I seem to be pretty close here. If you needed to adjust it, you could flip the gun around and push it left or push it right. And also, if you're at the range and you find that you're left or right, you can adjust this rear at the range. Just make sure you follow your range safety before you do anything like that. Now we have our Glock front. The front is tight enough where it sits pretty straight. Occasionally you may have to give it a slight tweak. And we do sell better install tools. We have one that has a magnet in it. If you have the extra change, I recommend getting that one because it makes this part a whole lot easier. If I used one of those tools, I could show you in better detail. I'll do my best here so I cannot see at all what I'm doing. I feel like I got it in the right spot, and you want to just ever so slightly turn it. So I have it in loose now, flipping over just so you can see. Stuck that in live action. And now I can't get it back on. There we go. Now I have it barely finger tight. I can see that my front sight is off a little bit, so I want to push with my thumb to line the sight up straight, and I will give it just a ever so slightly 4 to 6 inch-pounds worth of torque. If you turn too hard, you'll strip either the tool or the hex bolt out, and you don't want to strip either. We do recommend using Loctite for all your installs. I did not show it here, but that'll be in the site-specific installation guide. And then last is to reassemble your gun. Give it a good wipe down with oil, and then you can take it out to the range. Thank you all for tuning in to our install video. For customer service and other gun related needs, you can go to our website, xssights.com. We have the best customer service in the industry. Thank you.